Now here are some tips and tricks for you to learn the fashion terminologies. So I suggest two methods for understanding these terminologies. The first one is comprehension. Now comprehension means you understand the concepts. So you can do that by listening very carefully, learning or reading very well, so that you understand, you know the terms. For example, you know what is fashion, you know how it is different from style, you know how it is different from fad, etc. The concepts are very clear to you. Now you need to do is you have to prepare notes and revise as and when you can. So that is the first method. Now, for certain other things, comprehension is not very easy. So I suggest the second one, that is the memorization. So memorizing is for certain things like year or the person, the name of a person, the place of for example, you need to know who proposed which theory in which year, etc. So for such things, comprehension is not easy. You can't understand such things. You need to memorize it. It is, you need to know it by heart. So what you have to do is you have to repeat it many times. For example, you need to know when was the trickle down theory proposed. It was in 1889. You have to repeat it. You can write it down. Make short notes on it. Keep the notes wherever you can, like in a small diary or something, places where you can see it, etc. So these are certain things need to be memorized and certain things need to be understood. So this is how you can learn fashion, the different terminologies and also the concepts. Now let's look at the points to memorize. So we know that there are mainly three theories in fashion: the trickle down theory, the trickle across theory, and the trickle up theory. Now to understand what the theory states is easy, because as the name suggests, trickle down theory states that fashion moves from the high socioeconomic strata down to the lower stratas. That is, initially a fashion is adopted by the elite class, the wealthy people, the celebrities, the royalty, etc. And then later it comes to the public, the general public, and at last it ends in the streets. And the very socio-economically weaker sections of the society can also access it, or they are also adopting it. So that is the trickle down theory. This was proposed by Thorstein Veblen. Now the name, it's important to for you to memorize it. It's not easy as you understand the theory. So you need to write it down, or you can just write it or repeat it yourself many times so that you remember this well. And it was in the year 1889. So Thorstein Veblen was the person who proposed the trickle down theory, and it was in 1889. Now coming to the trickle across theory. Now understanding the theory, as I stated earlier, is easy because as its name suggests, it is trickle across. It states that the fashion does not trickle down or up, but it exists, it coexists in different socio-economic strata at the same time. For example, in the when a particular garment is in fashion, it can appear in the very wealthy socio-economic status by the big brands can promote it, or the big brands may be having the same item, and also the cheaper versions can be found in other areas also. It can even be found in the streets at the same time. In the cheaper version, maybe the quality is different, or the texture or the fabric, anything can be different, but the trend or the fashion remains in different socio-economic strata at the same time. So this theory was proposed by Robinson and King, and this was in the 1950s, late 1950s. Okay, so this also you have to write it down: Robinson and King, trickle across theory, the year late 1950s. Who proposed the trickle up theory? Trickle up theory, just like the name suggests, it goes from the low socio-economic strata to the higher elite class. So this is basically more for the different street fashions which have become extremely popular. For example, the ripped jeans, leather jackets, the sportswear, etc., which were usually used by the low income groups, which have become very trendy. Now this theory was proposed by John Maynard Keynes, and this was in late 1970s. So please write this also down, memorize it. These are for memorizing, because it's not very easy to remember names. So you need to write it down, repeat it to yourself and write it so that it's easy for you to learn it. So that's about the different things to memorize in this region, in this area of studies of fashion. Now let's move on to some sample questions. So here this first question is, which among them is not a fashion adoption theory? See, trickle across, trickle through, trickle up or trickle down. Now we have learned about trickle across, trickle up and trickle down, but there is no trickle through. So the answer is B, trickle through. The second question is, who was responsible for the trickle down theory? We have just learned it or memorized it in the previous one. It is Veblen. Okay, that is answer C. Now the sample question number 3 is, what is the major characteristic of fashion? The first option is, it keeps changing from time to time, shows lasting nature of clothes, it is about quality of clothes, it denotes sudden burst of popularity. The answer is 1 or A, keeps changing from time to time, because fashion, of course, it does not last, it is not about the quality, it does not denote sudden burst of popularity. Sudden burst of popularity is for fashion fad, or FAD. Fad stands for sudden burst of popularity. It is not fashion. Number 4, what is fashion forecasting? Fabric demand in market, global career on upcoming trends, acceptability of clothing in public, or none of the above. Actually, fashion forecasting is predicting what will be in fashion in future. So the answer is none of the above. So question number 5, which among the following factors favor fashion? Now this question was a question in the 2018 July UGC NTA NET exam. So you can see there are 4 options: leisure, economy of abundance, transportation and communication, sumptuary laws. Now we know that leisure is definitely favors fashion, because entertainment industry all promotes a lot of fashion. Economy of abundance means people having a lot of money and money flowing. Of course, it supports fashion. Transportation and communication. More and more transportation means that fashion reaches a lot of places. So definitely transportation and communication. Communication like social media, all these things, the TV, internet, etc. promotes fashion. So all of the 3, 1, 2, 3 supports fashion. What about sumptuary laws? Now sumptuary laws means those laws or policies which inhibit or which discourage people from spending too much. That is sumptuary laws. So definitely sumptuary laws does not favor fashion. So the answer is 1, 2 and 3. So the code A 1, 2, 3 is the correct answer. Next question is, which among the following best describes haute couture? Now we have studied that haute couture is the French for fine tailoring, and it is for high fashion. That is, it is the word denotes high fashion or the elite population following a particular trend which is very expensive, which is fine tailoring, which is only for the wealthy upper class people. So the answer is high fashion, C. Mass fashion is when the fashion is extremely popular and it is available for the common people. Fashion fad is a very short-lived outburst of fashion, and fashion forecasting is prediction of fashion for the future. So these are the different sample questions which comes in this area.